What's going on, everyone, and happy Thursday. The S&P 500 closed at a new record today, and the craziness just continues. Looking at some stocks like SMCI, it broke above the $1,000 level. Just in the beginning of this year, this stock was trading for $280 a share, and the euphoria keeps on building bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So in this video, we're going to talk about exactly what's happening in the market right now, the important things to be aware of, some good setups for tomorrow, and let's really make tomorrow a good day because we have a long weekend ahead of us because there is no trading on Monday because of Washington's birthday. So let's make tomorrow count, and Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, the market was insane today, and we saw some crazy uptrends continue here. SMCI was up 14%, ran above $1,000, and we just saw a plethora of stocks have great days. ARM was another stock that ended up in the green today. Tesla is coming back from the dead here, crossed back above $200. I know a lot of people were looking for that to hold up maybe as resistance today, but ended up blasting through that into market close. And Mike, the market just is going into tomorrow with a ton of great momentum. The recent high on SPY is up right around this 503.50 mark. So maybe tomorrow morning we will be getting up there. And whenever I think about, these big stocks and what's going on today, SMCI really stole the show, right? That was the big player today, continued up. There were actually some good breakout opportunities. It started having a lot of resistance midday, right around this like 970, 975-ish mark. It did have a nice breakout there right around like 1 p.m. Eastern time. So we did see that break come in, and it had that nice secondary run up today. And I found an interesting article from the Motley Fool. There's always funny things like this, right? If you put 10K into SMCI in 2020, you would now be up to $321,000 on that. I'll be real with you though, I had no idea what SMCI even was back then.
Yeah, coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? But yeah, we'll definitely talk about this stock a lot more as the video goes on because we do have a play with this one. So stick with us until we get to that point, Tom. But as we talked about all week long, we have a lot of exciting earnings for the week, and it's about that time to cover DraftKings and some of the other fun growth stocks of the day. So, Tom, let's get right into them.
Yeah, so DraftKings, they have a couple things going on. First off, the first thing that started, I guess, hitting the headlines was that they actually have a $750 million deal to acquire Jackpot, which I thought was a pretty interesting thing that they're doing here. I saw Jackpot, you can do like lottery stuff on the phone and different stuff like that. So whenever I think of DraftKings, they're acquiring Jackpot. It's not like my favorite thing that DraftKings has ever done, but, they just keep acquiring more and more of these companies and making themselves grow a little bit. Now, whenever I start to get more into their earnings, DraftKings numbers are actually pretty good. I thought that they had great growth overall. They actually beat EPS. It came in at 0.29 adjusted versus an 8-cent estimate. So you're talking, Mike, a huge beat. That is a fantastic beat there, but get this, sales ended up missing. So it's kind of like, you have one good thing going on, one bad thing going on, but they did raise guidance too, which I thought was actually a great thing that they did. Guidance is very, very important to me, and I know that the entire stock market cares so much about guidance, especially in a time like this, whenever, the economy's kind of it's been weird over the past couple of years. So I'm sitting here watching DraftKings and After Hours, Mike, and initially it fell down when the news of that deal with Jackpot came out, but it's coming back. It's at 44.16. Will this one go green by open tomorrow? Let me know in the comments what you think. I kind of think it's just going to end up flat, though.
Yeah, it's looking very flat. In situations like this, it's just best to just keep an eye on it. If it starts to move in a crazy way and fireworks start going off, then it could make sense to, place a trade on it. But until it actually starts to move in like a very momentum-filled way, it's just worth keeping on the back burner.
It is, and I'll say this for shareholders right now, I would say this is a fairly decent move, right? Like, at least it's holding up and it's staying positive, and I'm glad that the overall growth by the company was still good, and this is supposed to be one of their most profitable years yet. I think it's actually their first profitable year, but, like one of their best years overall. So hopefully they continue up with that growth. The sports betting industry just keeps growing and growing, and I saw even Penn Gaming reported earnings this morning, and they kind of tanked down a little bit, so, that's one that bit the dust. Thank God DraftKings didn't have that type of move.
Yeah, and then looking at some of the other fun growth stock earnings of the day, Coinbase is having a pretty good move in after hours, so keep a close eye on that one. And then Roku is kind of tanking a little bit, so that one is not the best. But either way, keep a close eye on Coinbase and DraftKings tomorrow. They both have moved quite a bit in the past, and they can definitely continue more after their earnings reports, as we've seen quite a bit this earnings season. But another thing that we have to talk about is the time of the year that we're heading into. So it is February 15th, and historically speaking, the stock market is in for its worst 2-week span of the entire year, and that is, in the second half of February. So while everything's great and moving higher in the market right now, it doesn't hurt to be more cautious going forward, given that this is literally the worst 2-week stretch of the entire year. So be careful.
Yeah, that's a pretty big statement. I know we talked about that a little bit yesterday, and it just seems like the market just keeps going, right? Like it keeps defying the odds right now, I guess. But hey, today is the 15th, so we need to really be careful over the next few days and see what exactly happens here. One big thing is that the SPY is not the new all-time highs yet. Like, what if we start rejecting up here at this resistance? That could definitely be something that comes into play over the next couple days, so keep that in mind. But for now, Mike, it just seems like the stocks continue, right? We saw Meta make a new all-time high here, so we don't want to sound like overly bearish, looking at stocks down necessarily on a day-by-day basis, because there's still some great movement to the upside. We keep seeing that with SMCI in the short term, which to me is not really worth playing. But even like Meta, good breakouts today, good movement. I feel like that in the short term, anything can happen, but just be careful as we head into the next couple weeks, because I feel like there will be at least some pullback mixed in.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can look at the market right now. Obviously, you can take the approach that the market is up so much already, and now it has to come falling back down in a hard way. At the same time, you could say don't fight the mojo and keep riding the momentum wave higher. I think the best way to look at it is just to put yourself in a position of, where you don't really care, right? You're going to look at the market and say, you know what? I acknowledge the market's overbought right now, but I also acknowledge that there's a shit ton of momentum. So the best way to play it is just to, go day by day and follow the money, right? If you see a bunch of buying pressure coming in, just like we saw today, then don't hold yourself back from, playing stocks to the upside. But at the same time, if you see a lot of selling pressure come in, just like we saw on Tuesday this week, definitely don't hold yourself back from playing the downside either, because we're in a market right now that, again, is it's just at a weird position. So you have to be able to adapt quickly.
Yeah, you have to be like a robot, right? I know everybody always wants to pick one direction or the other. Like, I'm a bull, I'm a bear, and everyone's fighting each other the whole time. It's like, guys, just be a robot, trade the market directionally in the way that it's running that day, especially if you're a day trader, right? I know that lately it's been a big bull fest, but as we've seen, it's been chopping around a little bit up here around these recent highs. We've been kind of stuck around this 500-ish mark for a little bit, so we'll have to see if we can break that the next couple days. But I think that we're in for a bit of chop here, Mike, especially as some of these stocks continue to run. Like, we just keep seeing them, continue to explode. But for example, Nvidia actually had a pretty negative day today, down 1.68%. The market wasn't necessarily all sunshine and rainbows today. There was still a lot of weakness out there.
No doubt about that. So good stuff there, Tom, but let's start talking about some actual setups that we're looking at. One stock I'm watching pretty closely right now is ExxonMobil. We all know this company is a pretty big energy company, and lately we have been seeing oil prices on the rise. The dollar has been falling a little bit, and even Warren Buffett is getting pretty bullish on oil as he's been buying up some oil stocks and energy-related companies. Now, looking at ExxonMobil right now, it had a really good day, and buyers were just flooding into this stock all day long. I am looking at this stock in a bullish way for multiple reasons, but just looking at the chart by itself right now. Like I said, a ton of buying pressure came into it, closed very closely at its highs. It has a true fundamental reason to be running. Not only are oil prices increasing, but we're even seeing, Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, starting to scoop up some energy-related companies. So between these major reasons, I will be watching ExxonMobil to the upside going forward.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's been bouncing off good supports, holding on a good technical level, and then at the same time, I think that just the overall market conditions are starting to push those oil prices back up a little bit, and ZOM and the oil companies are liking it. So I'll definitely watch it for tomorrow. Those oil stocks were pretty fun today. You almost couldn't enter at a wrong time, right? It was it was like straight up. Whereas you go over to something like SMCI, it was actually a little bit more choppy than even the oil stocks were. I guess I can't count after hours though, but my first play going into tomorrow is PLTR Palantir. I know a lot of people have been watching this one over the past few weeks, and it is at a major resistance. It's sitting right around this 25 to 25.50 area. We have seen rejection after rejection after rejection here the past few days. If we can break out above this tomorrow, I will look at calls. We're really looking for a good move early on and then a solid breakout trade opportunity. So watch that high of day and see if it can end up breaking.
All right, sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is SMCI. I told you guys we were going to talk about it more, and I've been looking at this one in a relatively bearish way because history repeats, in multiple different ways and in multiple different examples. But Tom, let's look at SMCI on like a daily or weekly chart. We can see that it has been going up non-stop since the beginning of the year. It's up like hundreds of % at this point, right? We all know that the stock can't just go up non-stop forever, right? At some point, it's going to slow down. And we have seen multiple examples of extreme euphoria in the market over the past couple of years. One example I really like to use is of Moderna, right? In 2021, you can say, it had the same level of euphoria and hype constantly flowing into it. And it just ran up higher and higher and higher until eventually, one day it didn't, and then it crumbled down. And you could say the same thing about, let's say other stocks like even Zoom, right? It just kept running higher and higher and higher in 2020 until one day it didn't, and it came crumbling down. And you could say the same thing about a million other examples that have happened throughout market history, right? This is a human-based thing, right? People get super euphoric, everyone thinks the stock only goes up, and then eventually it stops going up, and then everyone panic sells, right? It happens over and over and over again. So I'm watching SMCI to the downside. But with setups like this one, you can't just blindly jump in and buy put options because you don't know exactly when the trend will change. So given that, you just have to wait until you actually start to see some profit taking coming in and you start to see the stock fall. For SMCI, I'm watching it to the downside, but I would like to see at least a break below like $970 a share at bare minimum. And, it would give me a lot more confidence if the stock broke through like $920 a share or even lower.
Yeah, I think that that's a good way to look at it, honestly. And, there's going to be a lot of people out there who might be newer to trading or just people who are, just straight up bulls, right? Or people who are just stuck in the euphoric state, and they're going to go, Mike, what are you doing? You're talking about SMCI to the downside, but man, like those examples we just showed with Zoom and a few of those other stocks were monumental, and this stock is kind of in that same thing right now, and we're seeing it happen across the board with many AI stocks and different chip stocks. So I'm definitely with you, and I think it's definitely good to wait till 970 or something breaks as well. But going into tomorrow, I'm definitely looking at Citigroup. I noticed that the bank stocks were on fire, and if Citi can break 55.50, we're looking at it more for just a simple breakout trade, just to continue with that good momentum that the banks had today. If we go look at like US 10Y, it was pretty flat to slightly down. It's pulling back after that big run earlier in the week. So I think that's going to help banks a little bit.
All right, sounds good. All right, Tom, well, it's now about that time for the momentum plays. And with today's first one, we have Google to the downside.
Yeah, even though the market was great today, there were some stocks that had a lot of weakness to them. And I even noticed Google had a pretty big trend line going on intraday as well. I think if they can get back under this 141.50-ish support from today, then go ahead and look at puts.
All right, with the next one, we have a stock with some newfound momentum to the upside, and that's Tesla.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was crazy. Above $200. If they can break above 202 tomorrow, go ahead and look at calls. If they break that in pre-market, then just look at 203. But it's good to see them breaking 200. Hopefully they can continue.
Sounds good. And then with the last one, we have JP Morgan for both directions.
Yeah, JP Morgan, the banks were great today. They're sitting right at 180, so it's at a pretty big resistance here. If it can end up breaking 180.50 tomorrow morning, then go ahead and look at calls. Now, if it does end up pulling back and it pulls back under 178.25, then look at puts.
Sounds good. All right, so these three stocks are on watch for momentum plays tomorrow. Basically, we're looking at them for day trades only, and we want to see them break through the levels we listed. If they break through the levels we listed with good momentum, they are setups. If they do not break through those levels, then find a new setup, because odds are the stock doesn't have, the price action that would make it an ideal trade. So keep a close eye on these ones for tomorrow, but we definitely have to cover today's big money $742,000 trade of the day. And we are looking at ticker symbol XLE. So this is basically a bunch of oil and energy stocks all under one ticker. It's an energy ETF. And basically the big money put $742,000 into the 88 strike call options that expire on September 20th of 2024. So this is clearly a bullish trade where the big money wants the stock to rise as much as possible. And, given some of the facts that we said earlier in the video with how crude oil has been rising lately, the dollar's been falling, and Warren Buffett, of all people, are also pretty bullish on this industry, it totally makes sense as to why the big money is placing this trade. So overall, I think it's a pretty good setup, and I think everyone should keep a close eye on this one going forward. The call options aren't too far out of the money, and they have a good amount of time to them, so I'm curious to see how this one does.
Yeah, I kind of like it here. These energy companies are starting to do a lot better in the short term. The oil prices are starting to heat up a little bit, and I do like the play overall, given the time on it. I like the strike too, a little bit out of the money, so I think that gives us some nice, room to, I guess, it'll let it run up a little bit higher on the percentage-wise than something, super safe. But I will say this, I was kind of surprised that Warren Buffett had as much oil exposure as he did. I mean, this is almost like 10% of his portfolio in oil there. That's almost like matching the Bank of America, just under there. But I mean, that's pretty crazy to say that he has that much oil. I would have expected a little bit less, but looking at oil in general and just energy, it's low down around support. And I think that on a macroeconomic scale, we'll start to see it go up a little bit over the next few months.
Sounds good. So keep a close eye on this one going forward. But Tom, we have to shout out today's member of the day in the Stocked Up Discord, which is RSB, which just did a great job today with some of his day trades. He basically was trading in the trading stream, and he had one winning play and he had one losing play. But the key thing is he made sure to keep the losing play small so the winning one can more than make up for it. So we could see by his screenshot, he made almost $900 with the Tesla call options and lost about $270 with the Google put options, and it overall made for a phenomenal day, and he was done trading pretty quick into market open as well. But huge shout out to RSB, and what I love more than anything else is how great he managed his risk. Keep the losing plays small and let the winners ride.
Yeah, I love to see it, RSB. That is awesome. Great job keeping that discipline on the Google play, and great job letting those Tesla options start to run. So let's go, RSB. Always glad to see you on the live streams in the morning as well. So keep up the great work, and let's go, guys. Today, this week was awesome. We saw some great profits in the channel, even today and just all week long. So great job trading a lot of these breakouts, guys.
You know it. So yeah, let's end the week on a green note. We have a long weekend, so let's definitely make tomorrow count. If you guys are new to the channel, demolish that subscribe button. Come join the Stocked Up crew, and you'll start to see our videos recommended to you more often. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's crush it tomorrow.